host you today. How's everybody doing? We have a record turnout. I have to say, over 500 are on. So this is going to be a very rambunctious a conversation. So I'm delighted to welcome Peter Ricci, Director of Hospitality and Tourism Management, Florida Atlantic University. Really excited to chat with you, Peter. And as you know, we're delighted to have Greg on our board. We have all our hospitality education deans and faculty on our board, and he's just, the school is really amazing. I'd like to, first of all, just share with you, we want to thank Lincoln Road for renewing their membership recently, and we're very excited about everything going on. Look at this with Lincoln Road. It's really, really evolving. I was on the beach couple weeks ago, and it really looks beautiful what they're doing. They have various shops, cafes, galleries, restaurants, bars, and other businesses, and they're open for business and following safety guidelines. So go to Lincoln Road when you have a chance on the weekend. I'm not sure if Monica's showing us something. Let's see.
We had a nice slide. Very nice. I like the logo.
And then our upcoming events, Friday, tomorrow, we have our technology series with FIU, Emerging Technologies for Dealing with COVID-19, and that will be at 2:00. On Tuesday, we have a partnership with Sparkloft and Expedia webinar, 2021, the Year of Opportunity. On Wednesday, the 18th at 5 p.m., thank goodness, we have a mixology class. So we're going to have holiday drinks with Steve Turk, the Food and Beverage Director at Lowe's Miami Beach. So you know what? It's time for a little cocktail. Let's get ready for Thanksgiving, right? And the holidays. So hope you can join us for that. And that will be at 5:00. And then we have on November 19th at 2 p.m. In partnership with Baptist Health, Combating Leadership Fatigue. We have a series of workshops with Baptist to get through this pandemic and emotionally and mentally and be healthy. So we're looking forward to that as well. And, sorry we had to postpone our event that was taking place this week. We were very excited about it, but I am glad we did, because Brickell was flooding, and it was just very cumbersome, this whole storm. So we will be rescheduling that most likely in early December. So stay tuned for that. It's going to be a great event. So we have a lot of time. We've got a lot. One thing I'm going to do is ask Peter. I'm just going to read some of his bio. It's just pretty amazing. And Peter, all of your friends say hello. You're loved by so many.
Thank you.
It's just, I think there's nothing better than hospitality education, because we're all so warm and friendly, and we know how to do it, right?
Yeah.
So Peter's had 25 plus years of experience in the tourism industry and academia. During the past 12 years, Peter has focused on developing the hospitality and tourism management program at Florida Atlantic University, part of the Florida State University system. The program is ranked top 10 in Florida and top 30 nationally, with the MBA recently rated number 2 in one ranking and top 25 in second rating. And Peter's leading industry roles include GM at major brands of Hilton, Holiday Inn, Best Western, Radisson, Ramada, and Crowne Plaza. Additional stops in F&B, meeting planning, incentives, hotel sales and marketing, destination marketing, hospitality education, and short stints with travel agencies and airlines in the earlier years. He's co-authored 20 plus scholarly referred articles in hospitality tourism journals, 30 plus conference proceedings, numerous industry articles, poster presentations, one book, and one academic book chapter. Peter has been honored with the Dr. Peter Ricci Scholarship through the Hospitality Sales and Marketing Association International, HSMAI, South Florida chapter. That was a wonderful, wonderful award, a wonderful honor. And he's won numerous teaching awards, Professor of the Year, Excellence in Teaching, and Dean's Distinguished Fellowship. He's also a distinguished alumnus of UF. So Peter, welcome. I'm really thrilled and everything. And I just wanted to ask you, where'd you grow up?
I grew up in Coconut Creek in Northwest Broward County. Actually, I lived in Margate, went to Coconut Creek High School. And when you read all those things, I just get so embarrassed, because it's just, I'm 55 years old, and I started in this business at 14. So my first job was a dishwasher in a local restaurant. And they announced it in high school that they were seeking teenagers to come work part-time. And I started, and I loved it. And It was a fine dining restaurant owned by a guy at that time. His name was John Carlone, and he owned a bunch of restaurants in Fort Lauderdale that were all 80s high-end flambe style. He owned La Dome and the Rain Tree and all these restaurants from back in that time. And it just was a job at that time, but he kind of pulled me under his wing and taught me guest service. And I became a busser in about 3 months after dishwasher. Until this day, that was still my most amazing promotion because I could get tip money. And I worked hospitality all through high school. I never thought that this would be my career path like most of us, but I learned from John just how to take care of the guest, and that everything revolved around the guest. And to this day, I remember he would always have a meeting at the start of every shift if he was at our restaurant that day. And he always taught us, without the guests, we have nothing. We have no lights, we have no mortgage, we can't do anything. So that was ingrained in me all through my teenage years. And when I worked at La Dome on Las Olas, he owned that. We would rotate around restaurants to go help out. And that phrase just stuck with me for life. I don't know why. And
Gotcha. Gotcha.
the only reason I went to University of Florida is kind of silly. All my friends at Coconut Creek High School, Monica, I'm not sure if you saw that note in the chat that Shanthia can't hear.
Yes.
Okay, perfect. The only reason I went to high school to UF was all my friends from high school were going there. Silly reason, but I took a road trip with them and I fell in love because they were having a cold front. And I moved here when I was 12, so I don't really remember the cold. And it was cold that weekend. We went to Gainesville, and I'm like, oh, this feels nice. I want to go to Gainesville. That's how I wound up there. So it's very strange. But I'm back in South Florida. I grew up here, and I call this home. And Florida is my home because even when I managed hotels, I stayed in the Southeast, always primarily Florida. So.
Well, and you're so involved. What I love about, our industry down here is we're all working so closely together. We've been working closely together for years, and we've been beat up, right? We've been beat up. It's very challenging right now, and I think that as we begin to reopen, things will get. I think the forecast. We all watch. I'm sure you watch all these hotel conferences and real estate conferences, and they're saying the first 2 quarters of next year are going to be trying, and and how do you what do you have any thoughts, or especially like at the university with the students, is some of the things that maybe are you changing in your discussions or curriculum, or just different, so the students don't get discouraged?
Well, it's very interesting. I still consider myself an industry guy more than an academic, and I always will, because I went away to college to go to law school. Every job I had while I was in college wound up being in hospitality. I worked for a travel agency delivering tickets back in the day when we delivered hard tickets to the corporate clients. That was my job. I worked at Eastern Airlines as an intern. I worked food and beverage. So I've seen all these different pieces of hospitality. And then when I wound up down here, my first job after graduate school was in incentives. And I spent 4 years at the Convention and Visitors Bureau. Bill Talbert's there. He was there when I was there, and he's an awesome gentleman, and the CVB does a great job. So I look at the industry from many different pieces. And even in the midst of COVID, I tell the students, we're going to bounce back, one, as an industry, but it's going to come in different pieces. It could be that one state leads the cause because they're doing best in festivals. Another place might have better luck with their hotels on the beach because people feel they're outdoor and they don't have to social distance. It might be another place where it's warmer and outdoor dining is booming. So there are still jobs. Um, what's very hopeful for me anecdotally is that I maintain my own very large network of a listserv, whether it's alumni, people from the industry from all the years, etc. And I post jobs every day that come to me on that. Now I was posting about 1,000 jobs a week prior to COVID. It went to zero for a couple of months, and then it came back to 10 or 20. Now I'm averaging again about 300 or 400 a week. And it's really promising because every week there's a few more. And, everybody hates the word pivot. We've all used it throughout the pandemic. I'm so tired of it, but it is what we've been doing. And this, so have my job my postings. They've changed. I'm getting requests from Chewy.com. I'm getting requests from Aldi, from Publix. They want hospitality students because of the skill set, but they're not traditional hospitality employers. So I think once the industry bounces back, our students will be double able to get positions because now Bank of America and Holy Cross Hospital and all these employers we've had that are looking for people skills are going to come back to me still looking for them. They've just realized right now, hey, we have the ability to capture these hospitality students. But here at FAU, we're in the business school, so they get a bachelor's of business administration and they can go work in any part of business. So they have the business skills, but we teach the best side of the people skills. So they're valuable pretty much anywhere, anywhere. And I wound up in teaching by a fluke. When I lived in Miami, I was about 23 years old when I worked at the Convention and Visitors Bureau. And Merritt Steerheim, the president at that time, had gotten a call from Nova University, which is now Nova Southeastern, and they had started a hospitality school. And they wanted someone to teach a destination marketing class once a week part-time. And because I had completed my master's at UF, I was the one that could get the credentials to teach. So here I went and taught, and it was a program of all hotel general managers who had not had the time to finish their bachelor's. So I was a 23-year-old kid surrounded by all Miami-Dade GMs that were like, what are you going to teach us? And it wound up being like my best life experience because we shared some academic stuff with their years of all their operations knowledge. And I don't know if you remember the name. There was a guy, Lewis Robbins, who was the general manager of the Doubletree in Coconut Grove at that time. This is years back. And he and I are still friends. And Robert Leclay, who worked next door to the CVB, we're still friends. So anyone watching, this business is a lifelong pleasure. No matter if you do tour operator, hotel, concierge, cruise line, we are all in it together and we're all about the guest. And, like I said, I started at 14 as a dishwasher, and those words that it's all about the guest, they're the same today as they were then. Without them, we can't pay any bills. We can't do anything. So, so I just love this business. I love what we do. And I don't think any students really should be fearful of the current situation. I graduated undergrad in 1987, and I came out at the height of a recession. And I immediately went back because I decided not to do law school, but to do my master's. So I immediately re-enrolled in the master's and then started working in Miami at the start of 1990 when the Persian Gulf crisis came. So right after my master's was another recession. Guess what? All these years, I've never really been out of work very long, and we always bounce back because people want to travel. That's not going to go away. That's not going to go away. So,
And I think Miami, South Florida is going to really bounce back much faster. Weather, outdoors, our climate's been really pretty good. It even hasn't been that hot, right? And that's where we have an advantage. I talk to my colleagues across the country. San Francisco is not doing great at all. LA, the same thing. New York is just really, look, they're getting ready, you know, I mean, it's awful what's going on in Europe. Paris is shutting down again. It's like, and I don't think that's going to happen here. And I think that that will really help us. I think the CBB have a great marketing plan. I actually saw it on, I was watching a CBS show the other night. I have to tell, I don't know, is Bill on it? I have to tell Bill and Rolando that I saw there was a commercial on CBS for their campaign, and it looked great. You know, it looked great. It's all outdoors, because that's what it's all about, and we have that advantage too.
Well, and everybody's super, super tired. I mean, we're going into the holidays without being able to hug and touch. We haven't been on a trip in 6 months. You know, luckily, Greater Miami and the beaches is the type of destination that's going to be able to still attract, because of the climate and the outdoor weather and Ocean Drive and Lincoln Road and everything that we have. And as soon as people feel comfortable, there's such pent up demand to come back to Miami-Dade. So, I mean, you're in a distinct advantage point. Now, this recent 2 weeks of cases increasing again, and hospitalizations going up, it's all disconcerting to everyone. And no one really knows what the true data is, but we know that it's going to start getting cold up north pretty soon. And you can't eat outside on Madison Avenue very easily. And you can't eat outside on the wharf in Boston too easily. So I'm hoping that the more risk taking type of traveler will start coming to Florida sooner than later. So I think we have a much better leg up than our peers do. And that should give, you know, all the hotels in your organization some optimism. I always, it's very interesting now that I'm not a hotel general manager. That, by the way, after the CVB, the vast majority of my career was as a hotel GM. I worked for Intercontinental Hotels Group and Bristol Hotels, which was their management arm for a while, and one other company called Prism. But for about 12 years, all I did is open new hotels and fix broken ones. That was my job. So I moved every 6 months. I lived on site. I had managed all kinds of brands and would fix either the service culture, the finances, or open a new build. That was kind of my thing. And I loved it. And I spent time in Miami on multiple occasions. And I always thought Miami-Dade had a better edge than Broward, where I grew up, and that Broward had a better edge than Palm Beach, where now I teach, just because of the size and the diversity of offerings. And so realistically, with all the new builds that you've had in Miami and the ongoing marketing, you have to be one of the best places on the planet to come back fastest. It's just by nature of design. You know, and it's interesting, all those years in the hotel business, didn't matter what brand it was, it didn't matter what size hotel I had, it didn't matter if it was iDrive or if it was Lana, it was all about the guest and service and cleanliness. So as an industry, we're much better prepared to welcome people back. I think a lot of us forget that, but we were always about cleanliness. You know, besides hospitals, hotels are what you think of for cleanliness. I mean, it is what it is, you know?
Well, it's part of our DNA.
Yeah.
It's part of our lineup, our day, right? Our lineup in the morning, you know, I worked with, when I was at the Grand Bay, Mr. Richter, who I'm sure you know, Gunter Richter, he would have a daily meeting with all of us, and Chef Pascal was with me, and we met every day in his office, like 10 of us, and the office was tiny, right? And he went over every single arrival.
Oh, wow.
It was, yeah. And sometimes Pascal and I would be like, because, you know, especially when the hotel was full, you know,
Sure.
you know, what's, you know, and we had this was funny because not a lot of technology at that time, guest historian. And she had the log book, right? And she would write the notes of the VIPs and what's this, I mean, that's what we're all about.
Yeah. And even today, even those of you watching who are 19 studying at FIU or FAU, We still do it now this in the same passion, but in a different manner. We just use technology. We still have a guest history. We have a CRM, a customer relationship management system. It makes it much easier than trying to read my handwriting, but the goal is still the same. The more I know you and the more I treat you like family when you come to stay with me, the more likely you're going to come back. And those tools have never changed. What I really like in today's world is the mixture. I would say that we're in the middle point of a technological evolution from 1950 to 2020, and then by 3000, if you can think that far, you know, or if 20, let's say 2200. So right now we're in the part where every age generation at least is using technology and exposed to it, and not possibly as fearful as 20 years ago. And so those who like express check-in or phone check-in or mobile check-in are going to use it. Those who still want the front desk experience, they're going to use it. So right now our business model is we have to have it all. And we have to have a QSR code, but we also have to have a sanitized menu for those who don't know how to use their phone, and so on. But you think 20 years from now, then it'll be more technologically infused, but the people part, it's never going away. It's never going away. Before you and I turned on the recording, we were talking about culinary. You know, yes, we might have robotic chefs that design the food portions to be exactly the same, but the people factor, it's never going away. And that's what we train for. I mean, I came up through the ranks. I did a bachelor's in sociology and a master's in recreation and tourism, and I did not get the business skills that we teach here at FAU in the business school. And I miss those sorely. I had to learn them on the fly. So I encourage young people, because our industry is so analytics driven these days and metrics driven and standards and QA driven, that you need a business style of education, because the guest interaction and the passion for the guest, it's assumed anyway. And that's what we used to teach for: how to choose the best wine, how to brew the best iced tea. Now all of that is assumed. And it's, how are your metrics? How's your P&L? How's your flow through? How's your gross operating profit? And if you can't speak that language, you can't sit around the executive committee meetings very well. It's just how our business model has changed. A lot of that has to do, you know, we're share driven. A lot of the big publicly traded companies, it's all about stock value. So you have to speak the language of business, but I have to know what Wendy Calergis likes when she comes to my hotel equally, you know, so that I make Wendy happy when she's there, but I'm also pleasing the owner with my gross operating profit. It's a different kind of world, you know?
It is, and it was interesting. The other day, I got on the NYU. I call it Mr. Tish's conference a couple days ago, and it was great. I mean, John Tish is just—he's amazing.
He's an amazing man.
First thing he said is, "We've got to get our ladies and gentlemen back to work," you know, and just very, as large as he is, you know, as successful as he is, and the whole panel was amazing. But because that's what we're about. That's what we're about, you know. Is taking care of people, giving them a great visit, a great experience, and it's one of the things I wanted to talk to you about, because I know you've done a lot with events, and my world was catering and conference services, and the event industry is taking a hard hit. I'm sure you've heard. I see there's a couple of questions, and you can get with the questions as well with the chat. I'm just worried. A lot of the vendors are shutting down. I mean, it's
Yeah.
I don't think there was any funding. I know there's a live event coalition and
Yes.
trying to get some funding and all that. And I think that that's something that we should all start working on and helping and seeing how we can help, especially with the new administration. You know, there may be something that we can do, because if not, that's a huge industry and it's so many jobs. I just think there's kind of like that's They're not getting enough attention.
No, I agree. I just wrote myself some notes. I want to first comment on John Tish um because I'm an ex-hotel guy and my job was opening new hotels or fixing broken ones, I had my fair share of layoffs in my career that I had to do. But yet I'm still friends with a lot of people I had to fire. So back in February of 20, when I saw COVID coming, I immediately rushed to take our existing certificate that we offered face to face. And I went and asked if we could modify it, shorten it, and put it online and offer it for free. Because I thought attendees around the world that were out of work would be out of work for a month or two while they were on PTO for COVID. I got the blessing for that. And the reason I'm mentioning Jonathan is we had almost 80,000 people go through this certificate around the world, 165 countries, and a lot of them were Lowe's associates or former associates. And we work a lot with Lowe's. I was at the grand opening for Lowe's Miami Beach all those years back. I'm a huge Lowe's fan. So about 3,000 of these attendees were Lowe's associates that were working, furloughed, already terminated, a whole mixture. And we compiled comments as people would write about their experience in the certificate. And we got, thousands of comments, but not everybody mentioned where they had worked. But the Lowe's portion or Disney or Carnival, there were big chunks of groups where they would mention their company. So I took all the Lowe's ones, I compiled them. Here, I'm going to show you. Give me a sec. We stopped compiling the comments after we got to about 300,000, but we put together a book. If you look, it's like an old style phone book. All of these are individual comments from certificate takers around the world. So we electronically put all the low ones in the front. We sent them to Jonathan. We put the Hyatt ones. We sent them to the Pritzker family. We did that for every group. And he wrote me an email 2 weeks ago that touched my heart because you can just tell how it's impacted him as a person. You got to remember, he also co-owns a major sports team. So sports is spectators, that's gone for now. His hotels, he's had to lay off, try as hard as he can. So we are a people business. So even successful owners that you may think are these untouchable CEOs, they are people if they work in our business. So that's the first thing I wanted to say. The second thing is you think about the National Restaurant Association or the American Hotel Lodging Association. We have active lobbying voices in the world of government. So when we need to rattle cages or get a mission out, we have it. The events industry is really concerning to me because they've never had that cohesive voice because it's a very fragmented business. You have catering, you have linen companies, you have audiovisual, you have exhibition booth manufacturers, lighting companies. Yes, we've had the Special Events Society, which is now called ILEA, the International Live Events Association. We've had NACE, the National Association of Catering Events, but we've never had a strong collective voice in Washington for conventions. And if you remember, I believe it was Obama that had made that faux pas at one point during the recession saying, stop traveling to Vegas, and everybody got all in a tizzy. And then we really realized how much the events and conference business provides to our economy. So, you've got transportation companies, you've got all these pieces. So Nancy Schaefer has, and a group of others have put together the Live Events Coalition. They are trying to have a larger voice in Washington. And I've been doing a series of webinars, and luckily because of this global network of certificate takers we get to hear a lot of voices now from around the world because of our group of followers. So we have a webinar coming up on December 8th, and it's the president of MPI, the vice president of ILEA, and Nancy Schaefer herself, the president of the Live Events Coalition. And it's completely free. I'll make sure I send
Make
to
sure
you
you
and
send it. Yeah, I definitely want to.
webinar, because my questions for them, the way I do the webinars is I don't send questions in advance because I don't want to hear their canned company response. I don't let them think about it. And I put them on the fly. What I do is I ask people who register for questions in advance, and then I just shoot them out. And sometimes you see their face, like the last one we had, Stacy Ritter from the Greater Fort Lauderdale Convention and Visitors Bureau got a really tough question, and she just laughed at me. She said, Peter, of course I get this one. But that's how we do it. These are questions from real people who are out of work that want answers. So my questions that I've received so far are completely your concerns. What are we going to do? Tell me the truth. What do you have on the books for 2021? Is it 20% of what you used to have, or is it 70% where I shouldn't feel that worried? Are your people asking for virtual meetings? Are they shrinking their wedding sizes on purpose? You know, all these are legit questions, and there is no magic ball to forecast. I mean, people will want to meet, but you know, this morning I went to Denny's on the way to campus, and they had installed dividers between all the booths, permanent dividers with a tinted glass. And it looked like we were back in the 1970s when that was in style. That hasn't been in style again. Well, guess what? That's going to become in style again. If that's what makes the traveling, eating out consumer feel better, then we're going to move to that way. I hope that's not the way, because I love live meetings. We are all about hugging, seeing each other, sitting next to each other to catch up. What's going on at your hotel? How's your front desk doing? How's your new property management system? You know, Zoom only goes so far. I feel like I can see you, you're my friend, we can chat, but it's not the same. And it never will be the same. Now, I have friends and alumni now that have gone into the virtual events arena, whether they're in software, whether they're working for regular virtual events companies. We all know that because of the comfort zone we've had this past 7 months, virtual events will be integrated far more than ever before. Will that cut into the live catering pie? Absolutely. But it's not going to replace it. But we may have a keynote who's in Switzerland who can't make it to Cincinnati that day. So we'll do Zoom for a piece of our meetings, and we'll be comfortable with it because now we've all suffered when the system breaks down. We can't, you know, I learned right away with our first webinar that we could only handle 500 people. Well, we had 1,000 register in a day. So I had to get with technology. How do we fix it? How do we accommodate it? A year from now, we're all going to be better at this, but it's never going to take away the action. So I'm hoping that Live Events Coalition gets some traction and they have a lobbying voice in Washington. But again, it's very difficult with such a entrepreneurial specialized piece of the business. You know, if you own a company that only does wedding cakes, you may never have been a member of ILEA or even knew it existed, but you're an integral part of the live events group because you're probably doing 50 weddings a year, you know, and so on and so forth. I don't know if that makes sense, really.
No, I'm totally, anything that we can do to help. I really, I feel, you know, my heart aches for some of the vendors that are just, it's, yeah, it's.
Absolutely. Look at all the destination management companies. I mean, the
Yes,
DMCs,
yes.
they're, you know, what are they doing right now? I mean, it's awful. And I have an alumni from when I taught at University of Central Florida who has a very successful staffing company for events. He has 4 bookings for 2021 and feels very excited. He hasn't had a booking in 6 months, but he's got 4 on the books. And I don't know if it's going to be a mass floodgate of meetings or how it's going to roll out. But I know right now everybody feels this roller coaster effect of the cases, and they're not willing to sign on the dotted line because one week we're making headway, and I feel like Switzerland now because I'm not a general manager. So all the GMs tell me the real deal of what's going on in their houses. And I love it because I get the real deal of what's going on. Well, they're excited for a month when the bookings start to go up, then the cases go up, their cancellations go up. And it's been a roller coaster ride. So for live events, they're behind our booking pace for hotels, because first will come the individual travelers and then we'll wander out the ones who feel safe to have a meeting. I don't know what, honestly, I haven't been to a wedding this year. I've known they've gone on, but I don't know if the weddings business is going to super boom Q2 of next year and beyond, and people are pushing it off, or maybe getting married at the courthouse, but having the wedding next year. I don't really know what the trends are just yet.
Yeah, and we averaged 4 weddings a week at the Biltmore when I was there, and it is. I think they're smaller. They're definitely smaller, and some already did get married just with their family. This year, and I'm hoping that but it's slow. It's just slow right now because, and I think too because of the virus, because of the elections. I think that we should see some increased, small weddings, and
I hope
we
so.
just, everybody has to wear a mask. Everybody has to do
Yeah.
the right thing. We've got to get through this. We
Yeah.
don't want to be Europe.
No, you know what? I mean, Chip Rogers was interviewed by me for our certificate. There's not a day that goes by that you don't get something from AHLA about what they're doing, what they're lobbying, what they're saying, who they're asking you to write to. The live events group doesn't have that voice. And again, there's 55,000 plus hotels in the US with 20 rooms or more. There's a collective body through AHLA of the lobbying dollars, the money, the support, the education, the institute, the foundation. Well, if you're a wedding planner, there's only a small group of you nationally. Not small, but not significant like the number of hotels. If you're an audiovisual company, you're not small in number, but you're not the same as hotels. And they've never talked to each other and formed an alliance. And that, I think that is what Nancy Schaefer's goal is. I only learned of them through people taking my certificate, introduced myself to her, and I'm very excited. We also have the president of Merit's Global Events on that panel. So I want to see Merit's being a huge player in incentive and events, what David's going to say, and I'm going to really put them out. What do you have on the books? What's the real deal? Because these are the event leaders. I mean, Paul, the president of MPI, how many members are they losing globally? Who's bailing on the industry? This is a little bit of a side topic, but the thing that hurts my heart the most is people who email me after the certificate when they opt out of our email address system and tell me, I've given up on hospitality, I'm going to another industry. And I would say out of our 80,000, at least 2,000 or 3,000 of them have told me that. Now that aches me as a lifelong hospitality person, like it would you. I know hospitality is part of my DNA. And I'm hoping that this is their short-term anger, frustration, confusion, and that they will immediately realize, I don't want to work in a cubicle. I'm not designed for an office job, whatever the case is. But when I hear those stories, they really touch my heart in a bad way. And I can't help it, because I know that those of us that are passionate for this business will never be passionate for anything else. We love people. I hold the door at Publix. I'm the one that says good morning to people at Dunkin' Donuts. I don't work there. Hey, how are you? Good morning. And it's our blood, you can't help it. It's who we are. So
I remember when I was working at the Miami City Club, on the 55th floor, the Miami, that's where it was. And, that was kind of my first, I mean, it was hospitality, obviously, but I would always, the elevator in the lobby, I would always, I always just hold the elevator open for
I
everybody.
know, I
And
know.
they'd look at me funny, and I said, no, no, go ahead, go ahead.
No, it's our DNA. You know, the promising part that I found lately is these jobs in other industries that are looking for the hospitality type. Like I said, Holy Cross Hospital, there's a residential luxury community in North Miami-Dade and in Weston called The Manor, and they look for resident lifestyle concierge staff. Bank of America has hired what they call relationship managers for their key accounts. So there are other areas, but to tell you the truth, when I was a hotel GM, I called it my house. I would dabble in the kitchen. I would drive the van to the airport to see what the guests were saying. I would do some check-ins. Then the front desk staff said, get out of our hair, go, but I got to interact with the guests every day. I don't know if I would feel that way working in a call center or working in a bank to the same level. You're not interacting with people from all over the globe every day. And I love that I manage very different brands from luxury to economy, beachside, city. I had the pleasure and luxury to open new hotels and fix broken ones and move. I moved 22 times in 15 years, and it was a delight because now I have friends everywhere. Being in academia now for 10 or plus years, it's interesting because I have one office that I've never moved out of. And for me, that was very bizarre coming from my hotel side, But I of all the things, even the 4 years at the CVB, and Bill probably wouldn't like this, but I really feel like a hotel, you're more than anything else, even though I spent all my early years in restaurants, because when I got to hotels, I could dabble in my restaurant if I wanted to. So I had the best of both worlds,
And it's 24 hours.
Yeah.
A lot of great
Unfortunately,
stories, right? A lot of great stories.
yeah.
Well, take a look at the chat and see if there's anything there, because I didn't mean to ignore it. Any comments but I'm really excited that we were able to talk about the Live Events Coalition, and just count on our support, because we really need to support that and help them. And we have
Yeah,
the potential to do so
I'm
many events.
Yeah, I'm reading what Jackie Johnson said, the third parties and independents and corporate planners, everybody's hanging by a thread. Every planner I know is just super excited to have a booking for the next 4 months. And I really can't, I wish I could say, Jackie, this is going to turn around or whatnot. I'm really concerned also about incentives, because I don't know if people are going to want to be motivated to improve business outcomes with a trip. They might say, no, I don't want to travel. That's always been the most glamorous thing you could win, was an incentive trip. And I don't know if that's going to be the case anymore. They're going to say, you know what? I was out of work for a year. Buy me a washer and dryer. Or I need a down payment on my car. Or I need to pay a loan off because I've been out of work for a year. They're not going to want those incentive trips. And and the cruise industry, we haven't even talked about the cruise industry, but they've been super devastated because the CDC really mandated to them more than anybody else. And then if you read recently in Key West, they took a vote to keep the large ships away, because they've seen the environment improve in the time that the ships have not been away. And there was a coalition of residents that said, you know what, we'll eat the cost economically to stay where we are. So I think sustainable micro tourism is going to boom, as well as nature-based tourism. And also there's a great term out there called regenerative meetings, which I have a question for the panelists, and I had to clarify, and the lady who wrote in is an expert on it. She said that sustainability is doing everything you're doing with the least amount of harm and impact to your group. Regenerative is where you're having a group and you're actually adding to the community. So I remember one of the cruise lines started a ship where you were going to go to the islands and you were going to help rebuild homes for a week and so on. That never really took off. But the idea is if you go to New Orleans for a conference, there will be a day where you help a neighborhood or you volunteer at a homeless shelter. Or if you come to Miami, there'll be a day where you work at the food bank as part of your conference. So not only are you being sustainable, you're also regenerating the place that you're visiting. And I think these terms and these activities resonate with young people quite a bit, and they are the future of our industry. So I think if the independent planners, if you can do something unique or creative or that's not really common, but that will connect with your guest, you might push them a little faster to have a meeting. Because if they can see the good they're doing and feel your safety, maybe they'll get out and about a little bit. I don't know, you know?
Yeah, I know. I agree. And, Peter, we only have one committee at the association, and it's our Sustainable Hospitality Council, chaired by Nancy Scanlon, and it's amazing. And during this COVID time, we were adding people on, we have architects, designers, we have Ocean Conservancy, Chef Allen is involved. And we're very excited about it. So definitely want to do something with you. But also, I think our new county mayor, Daniela Cava-Levine, she is pro environment sustainability as well as community service. So charities and all that. So I think that those two traits that she has are going to be really good for us, moving forward.
Well, I mean, if you think about it, like I said, without the guests, we have nothing. But if you're selling the destination and you ruin it, you have nothing either. So, I mean, Cancun has had explosive growth and took a hit for it and had to renovate. South Beach has evolved itself over time to accommodate the groups. But if you put too much into the destination and don't take care of it, you're missing your whole goal. So sustainability and regenerative activities, they're a must today. And unfortunately the population is not shrinking. I mean, it's getting bigger, bigger, bigger. But anybody watching this, I come to work still with an optimistic, every day's going to be better. I switch between Fox News and CNN to try and balance my learning and viewpoints. And I don't care if the cases are going up. Eventually, we're going to have a vaccine, and eventually, we're going to travel because we are also frustrated that we can't live life as it was. Now, will it be the same? No, but we're going to travel. I mean, there are a lot of people who call FAU, which is really, this is bizarre to me. They'll see FAU has a hospitality and they'll call and ask me the safest hotel in Boca. I don't know. I'm not a hotel safety rating person. I'm now an educator, but people want to travel and it's just a matter of time. It's just a matter of time. I don't know in your world what you're hearing from GMs, but I hear more positive than negative, or at least there's the overall tone is they're optimistic. Let's put it that way.
Yes, they are. I just think this first half of the year, 2021, but that to me, I think we're gonna definitely get better because of the vacations, the weather, leisure should do well, small meetings, definitely weddings coming back. But I think it's just, the burden of all the employees that they had to lay off and furlough and everything. I mean, that's like our number one heartache. I mean, it's like, because they're not all back at work. So we're going to try to help them get other jobs, and we can work together on that, Peter. I'll reach out to you.
Yeah, the initiative you had down there is just amazing. And it was very promising on CNBC last week to show that leisure, recreation, and hospitality was the highest hiring group for the month of October. Granted, it's only a small portion of what we lost, but we are leading because people are, they're expecting season to still be here and they are hiring. I saw a quote, is there a cap on age to enter the hotel business in the chat? Absolutely not. We are one of the best industries to hire from the youngest to the oldest. We are, there's a big movement nationally now with Black Lives Matter and all the issues we have called diversity, equity, and inclusion across all the universities. And for me, that's just rolled out so easily because that's what we've always been about is diversity, equity, and inclusion. I mean, my hotels, I always had people from 20 different countries, all different ages, mobility impaired, sight impaired, hearing impaired. Most of them just didn't want to listen to me, but some were actually hearing impaired. And, we were one of the first to hire older people that were retired and accept them as great working people and not look at them as, hey, you were retired. So no, I would never say there's a cap there. If you want to reach management, you're already going to come with more experience than somebody who applies at the same time as you because you have more life experience. So I would not consider that a negative at all. And then somebody else asked about transitioning from higher ed into hospitality. It depends what you're doing in higher ed. Most people I've seen in a university environment are in some type of administrative or finance role if they're not in the actual education role. And there are plenty of those types of roles in the hospitality business. It's just a matter, you can reach out to me. I put my email on top. I also want to, and any webinar I do, anyone who's watching this or watches it later when it's recorded, you can email me anytime, any day. I love answering questions, and I will always give you a scholarship to take a certificate with us if you watch one of my webinars. So I do that myself. I have a little stash of funds that I raise and I save it for anybody who watches the webinar, because I think if you take the time to constantly improve yourself, you are worthy of some kind of reward, because life is about continual education. Wendy asked me the other day about all my certifications. I'm like a little kid. Every year I do a certification or a course because I don't want to feel old in the classroom, first of all. And second of all, our business changes too fast not to stay current. It's just much too fast. That's
I have a project for you from me. I want to take an online course. That would be my first one. So you have to decide what course I should take.
Oh, how fun. Okay.
Okay.
Yeah, you'll like it. It's very comfortable, very comfortable. I was terrified the first time I taught online. Most educators are terrified of teaching online because we pride ourselves on the personal interaction with the students. What comforted me so much from the certificate is that the people actually felt like I was connected with them and we could chat. And they would email me and we would chat. And that's how, if you feel that way, then the online class won't bother you. You'll do just fine,
Looking forward to it. So, wow, this was amazing. I love reading the chat line.
Yeah, me too. So and you can email me. I'll get you set up for the certificate. Yeah, anyone who wants to do anything, email. Now our webinar, I will send the flyer to Wendy for her to distribute to all of you. That's on December 8th. We pre-record it, but you can email me questions in advance, and then we release it on YouTube. And we have about 5,000 already registered. So I know the panelists, because they're the leaders in the events industry, people are going to want to hear what is literally on the books and what they're doing for 2021. I'll type my email again, hospitality@fau.edu, and anyone can reach out. I'll make sure I get the flyer to Greater Miami and the Beaches Hotel Association to share. What's really nice, it just shows hospitality, and I'll close with this, is I don't know Paul, the president of MPI, very much, but I emailed him. He agreed to be on the panel. I've never met Nancy. She said, absolutely, your certificate, my daughter took it, my cousin took it. That's who we are as people. And I reached out to Merritt's. I worked at Merritt's as a trip director when I was in college. And the guy was like, "Oh my God, I've heard of your name from way back when, and I'll be on the panel." So I'm like, "Okay, now we have a great panel." So Wendy can tell you, we all work together. We like it. We're here as a team, and yeah, I don't know. I just and
It's the best. It's the best.
Wendy, you are awesome. You have to know from the world around you that you are awesome. Like on my faculty at FAU, each faculty member has a different county that they work with and in. And Greg Bowen is assigned to Miami-Dade. Otherwise, I would do Miami-Dade. But you are so respected and admired, and it's just the responsiveness and the professionalism that you have at the association. I can't tell you because I'm a member of like 40 groups, but you guys are on it. You're doing stuff that the members want, and you're taking care of them in a time of need. So you know, you get a big shout out, my friend. You get a big shout out.
Thank you so much. Sending you a hug.
Yeah, that's our hug. And I have my sanitizer for
This is
after.
great. This is really great. Yeah, we are lucky to be in this industry. We really are. As bad as it is right now, we're going to get out. We're going to pull out of it and work together like we always do, you know. And I'm looking forward to the next, some of the new initiatives we talked about too.
Great.
So Peter, Ricci, thank you, thank you, thank you.
Thank you so much, everyone. And please email me and I'll help out any way I can.
And let's work on culinary, more culinary too.
Yeah. Okay.
Okay. We have a couple of projects.
Take care, my friend.
Thanks everyone for participating.
Thank you all. Bye.
Okay. Take care. Be safe.